What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Coach Joe here with Heartletics.com. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the best days that has ever happened to me. And this was actually this time last year. So, I'm going to bring you guys down memory lanes for today's podcast. This is going to be a really good one. So, I'll say it like this, all my life I wanted to be a U.S. Marine. And it just didn't work out for me. I actually failed my ASVAB test 3 times. I'm obviously physically fit enough to be in the Marines, but just mentally, I always struggle with like test anxiety. I would always get nervous, like in school. I actually had to go to Sylvan Learning Center for like 3 years, and I was actually like failed out of one of my math classes, and I had to take like a summer class. It was a whole thing, right? Like me in school, we just don't click. We don't get along, right? So anyways, all my life, since September 11th, I wanted to be a U.S. Marine. And I actually did the delayed entry program, everything like that. But every time I took my ASVAB test, I failed it. And it was very humiliating. Part of me still is like, man, I want to go fight for my country. But like God has other plans for me. And so during that transition of basically, my whole entire life, I want to just be a U.S. Marine right after high school. I never wanted to go to college, anything like that. And I was in this weird transition, right? This was also right around the time where I started fighting. And this is what we're going to really be getting into in today's podcast. So at 16 years old, I started training mixed martial arts. Jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, had a lot of fun doing it. And in a state of Ohio, you can legally start fighting at the age of 18. So I started doing that. And so at 18, right, and during that time finishing up high school, it was this weird transition because at the time I'm failing all my ASVAB tests, and I'm like, okay, well, I got nothing going for me except mixed martial arts, and so I'm just like, okay, hey, maybe it's time for me to just like go to community college and try to just like be this awesome MMA fighter and eventually make it one day to be in the UFC. My idol, right, was George St. Pierre. He's, in my opinion, one of the best fighters ever. And so I loved his style, and I loved everything about like how he trained, his work ethic, everything like that. And so I'm like, okay, hey, maybe this is the plan for me. So in doing so, from the time of 18 to 21, I had about 14, 15 MMA fights. I had about 8 different boxing matches. I think maybe 7 or 8 different kickboxing, Muay Thai matches, and like a handful of jiu-jitsu tournaments, So I was very, very active at a very young age doing this. And during that time, my brother, unfortunately, he got a concussion. And it was one of those things where it's like, man, I really like fighting, but at the same time, I was enjoying fighting because I was with my brother. We were building this bond, this relationship. We were training partners. We were very competitive in the sport, always pushing each other. And so we fed off each other to make each other bigger and stronger and better in the sports. But when I saw that he got a concussion, that's where I was like, okay, I don't want to keep on doing this because my brother's going to continue doing this as well. And so decided to, cut hairs with mixed martial arts and eventually, obviously finish up school, getting different certifications, eventually meeting my, lovely wife, Allison, getting a different job where, I sold industrial supplies and just going through, whatever it is where, I'm just trying to, become an adult, so to speak, right? I'm at an early age in my life just trying to save up money, obviously, like I said, get married and then, get a house, all these different things, working at the gym, working at, this company selling industrial supplies, all these different things, right? So here we are, fast track, right? All the way up to this time last year. So I'm 30 years old, just in case you guys don't know. And I've stopped, competing entirely. In fact, I actually came out of retirement. I did a few different boxing fights, and that was fun. And then we had our son, Oakley, So that he's 3 years old, so that was about 3 years ago. And then I stopped, right? Reconnected my brother. I see that he's training boxing, all this stuff still, and I'm like, holy cow. And so me and him just decided, like, hey, it would be really cool, right, to do a fight, not fight each other, but like do a fight card where we're fighting on the same fight card together. And so lo and behold, we're training, right? Like he's down in Florida, I'm over here, and we're training, right? And so I signed up for a fight, and this was this time last year. And the fight, I lost, close fight, split decision. I ended up losing that fight. But I was like, okay, well, hey, I really want to do another fight card, and I want to do it with my brother this time. And so we had it for, I think, maybe February of, earlier this year, basically, 2022. And yeah, I'm putting the pieces together. And so, anyways, I fought on Saturday, or maybe it was Friday, one of the two. The next following, like, Monday, I'm fine. I'm fresh. I show right back up in the gym. I'm ready to go. I'm hitting mitts, everything like that. And I start sparring again. And I got knocked out cold. Like, knocked out cold. It was like the, I think, fifth round. I went 2 rounds with somebody that I knew. And then I decided to go a few rounds with somebody I did not know at all. And this dude was a stud. I mean, I kid you not. He was fast, like literally so fast. It was like a machine gun hitting me in the face. It was insane. But anyways, first round, he gets the best of me. Second round, I start getting his timing down. And I'm like, okay. Third round, let's just like, hey, I'm that type where it's like the last round, like, let's just give it our all. And I went in for a body shot, and I left my chin exposed, and he got me. He got me good. And this was, out of all, remember, I had like 14, 15 different MMA fights, handful of different boxing fights, handful of different, Muay Thai, kickboxing matches. I've never once had a concussion, ever. Never once had a concussion. And this guy knocked me out where I obviously had a concussion. It was horrible. I mean, I kid you not. First off, I was unconscious for about 11, 12 minutes. It was insane. Like, I would wake up a little bit, mumble some words, and then just plop back down. Like, and this is just all stuff that I'm hearing from coaches and training partners. And it was very humiliating, actually, because here I am, somebody that's been doing this for years, long time of training. I've never once been knocked out, and here I am I got knocked out, right? So very humiliating. But I just remember waking up at that bench on the side of the boxing ring, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know who the people were in front of me. People were asking me questions, talking to me, like, telling me to drink some water, and like asking me like, hey, who's your brother? Who's your wife? Like, just getting me to get my head back. And I remember that was the most terrifying moment of my life. And it wasn't terrifying because I got knocked out. It was terrifying because I didn't remember anything. Like, I kid you not, I did not remember anything at all. Somebody would ask me like, hey, like, who's your brother? And I'm like, I have a brother? Somebody would be like, hey, what's your son's name? I'm like, I got a son? Like, terrifying. And so I immediately start coming to, right? Drinking some water. 5 minutes in, I'm like, okay, like, I understand what happened here. And it was the worst experience of my life. I kid you not. I immediately texted my brother, and he's like, who did it? Like, like, who's the guy? I'm like, I don't even know the guy's name. Like, I've never seen him before, and I don't even know where he's at right now. Like, that was the last time I went into that gym, okay? Like, that was the day my life completely changed, honestly. And so I'm leaving the gym. I call up my brother, and he's just, like, telling me, he's like, man, he's like, just so you know, man, there's some side effects. You're going to get sick. You're going to get lightheaded. You're going to get very emotional. And man, he was right. I just cried and cried and cried. Not in the sake of like I got knocked out, but just like an emotional crying of like, Sammy, that's my brother's name. Why are we doing this? I'm like, you've got multiple concussions. This is my first. Why are we doing? We're not getting paid to do this, man. I'm like, you're a great trainer down in Florida. I'm a coach over here in Ohio. Like, we're destined to help out others, not beat people up. And it was obviously a lot of emotions tied to that. And so I went home, immediately started throwing up. I mean, all the signs of a really bad concussion, And so I'm just looking it up on like YouTube and Google, like how to recover, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. But I'm really blessed that happened to me, that concussion. I'm blessed the fact that my life has changed since then, because I always say it like this: sometimes you need to get down in life for you to wake up, right? You need to get knocked down in life for you to wake up. And that was exactly what I needed. Because like since then, and I was already going hard in the paint with Heartletics, but since then I doubled down, got more, invested more into different resources, aka like different coaches, different staff, like all these different things, right? Different marketing, like doubled down to say, okay, hey, if let's say my time here was that's it, what kind of legacy am I really leaving here? And it was like that realization to me that says like, I could die, like I could have not woke up from that knockout. I could also been like something could have happened where I could have, fell on my head wrong and snapped my neck or become a vegetable or whatever the case may be. And I know long term, like I'm going to have problems probably realistically. I already started to notice some of the signs, honestly, because some of the things I don't remember back when I was a kid. And I know for a fact somebody will be like, dude, you remember this? And I'm like, no, I don't. And it's because of that. And so I take it very seriously. And so this was the punch that woke me up, honestly. Rather than the punch that knocked me out, this was the punch that woke me up. And so I had about a week of just like really getting myself in check, getting my mindset in check. It also led to a big form of depression, honestly. Everything changed since then, since I got knocked out. But I'm this week-long process. You're hearing people to say stay in a dark room, stay away from like any kind of screens, just lay down all day. And then I heard other people say like, no, that's not the way to do it. Like you want to train, like continue to like get your body moving and train that head to get back to where it needs to get to. It's going to help out with a faster recovery. Me being who I am, I heard that and I immediately said, okay, I'm just going to do that. And it did work out because I think the first day after the knockout, cold, right, just relaxed. The following day, I was back in the gym. Very, very light. I just did all machines. I did that for the remainder of the week, and then I was right back to lifting. I was perfectly fine after that. But it was one of these things where I kid you not, it needed to happen. Because I always look at everything from the glass being half full rather than the glass being half empty. And so I'm like, okay, what is the lesson here that God wants me to understand? Because I just got knocked out. This sucks. Like I said, this led to a lot of depression in my life. A lot of depression because it's just one of those things where you kind of get emotionally like become a train wreck. I mean, I'm just letting you guys know and be real and personal with you guys. It's horrible, honestly. And so I found it out probably, I don't know, maybe a month or two afterwards because, during that time, a month or two afterwards was going to be February. And I was supposed to be fighting on that card with my brother. And I realized here that let's just say like, my brother, for example, he had several concussions, let's just say that would have happened to him. This was my first one. If it could have happened to him, the consequences could have been way worse, right? It could have been a lot harder. And so I needed to get knocked out as a sign for me to tell my brother, like, dude, let's just stop doing this, right? He needed to see me and hear about me getting knocked out for him to stop fighting, And that was it. God works in mysterious ways. I kid you not. Whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever, right? Like, it doesn't matter. But, like, whatever it is that you believe in, you need to understand that sometimes the storms that you're facing in life is actually leading you to the sunshine. It's leading you to the end of the tunnel where there's that light. Sometimes you just don't know what's going on. I said it in the beginning of this podcast, my whole entire life I want to be a Marine. That could have been very, very bad, right? For me and my mental state. That also could have been very, very bad in the fact of like, I would have never had my wife Allison, my son Oakley, Heartletics, like so many different avenues. Now, granted, like I could have had some other success elsewhere, but what I'm trying to really get at is that at the end of the day, sometimes God really does work in mysterious ways. And sometimes you don't know the next chapter. You don't. But what you have to have is faith. What you have to have is a realization that everything's going to work out in the end. Even if you don't think it's the end, right? Like, you don't think like, oh man, like it's never going to get better or anything like that. Understand this, your page, right? It's still being written. That's it. That chapter you're still on right now, you know? You're not on to the next one. And so you need to continue. Because so many times life is going to throw curveballs your way. Life is going to throw knockout shots your way. That might be you losing your job. That might be you, having, a horrible relationship with your spouse and thinking about getting divorced. That might be, you having a horrible relationship with your kids and go years without talking to them. I hear this stuff all the time. It does not mean that that's the end of the story. It does not mean that that's the final chapter. Your story is always being written, right? But you need to be a little bit positive. You need to be optimistic that, hey, it's all going to work out in the end. Because with me getting knocked out, that was the best thing that has ever happened to me, honestly. Because I was able to double down in Heartletics. I was able to stop fighting, so I have a lot more time, right, to double down in my business and also my family. But also, my brother's not fighting anymore. And that's what matters the most, because maybe he doesn't need or could afford another concussion. And seeing me fight urged him to say, oh man, like I want to do this, exactly. So it's just like, let's stop that in its tracks before it gets, eventually too late. And so if you're going through right now a little storm, maybe God, the universe, whatever it is that you want to call it, is testing you right now, keep going. Have faith. Even if you can't see into the unknown, understand this. Everything works out for a reason. Everything. And no matter how hard it is right now, your story is still being written. Eventually, right, that chapter is going to end and you can flip the page and you're going to have a completely different story. But it just all goes to show you, like, your mindset, that is what's going to gear you, right, toward having success. That is what's going to keep you optimistic. That is what's going to keep you focused, right, on that small little light at the end of the tunnel, even if you don't see it. It's your mindset. And remember, you have to, no matter how hard the circumstances are, you have to look at the glass being half full rather than half empty. I mean, at the end of the day, what do you have to lose? You can have a winner's mindset, or you can not even try. And if you don't even try to win, you're guaranteed to lose. So at the end of the day, when life throws you knockout shots, when life throws you curveballs, keep on swinging, keep on moving, right? Learn how to roll with the punches. It's just a test. It's just an obstacle. Your time to get past the storms and your time to be there and see all the sunshine, it's on its way. You just have to have some faith. It's coming. That's it. So guys, I hope you guys got some inspiration, some motivation from today's podcast. If you did, definitely let me know and maybe share this with your friend, family member, or maybe share it on your social media page. Other than that, this has been Coach Joe with the Heartletics podcast, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out, Girl Scouts.